Every time we write a line of code, we're really making a bet on the future. But what happens when those easy, simple choices we make right now turn into massive headaches down the road? That's what we're going to talk about today, a really common trap in C# validation, and more importantly, how you can steer clear of it.
And this is the question you've got to ask yourself, especially if you're working on anything that's supposed to grow. This is the core difference between an application that just works and scales up smoothly and one that completely falls apart the second things get complicated.
Okay, let's talk about the simplicity trap. Come on, we've all been there, right? You see a simple problem, you grab the simple solution. It feels smart, but when it comes to validation, that simple choice can be a really clever disguise for a major problem waiting to happen. Yeah, I'm talking about data annotations. You've seen them. Every single C# tutorial starts with this. You just pop a little required attribute right above a property. It looks so clean, so neat. The rule is right there next to the data. And hey, it works. At least, it works at first. And that's why they're so tempting. The appeal is huge. I get it. It's built right into the framework. It's super easy to get going. If all you're building is a basic contact us page, it feels perfect. But let's be real. We're not always building simple little forms, are we? All right, so what happens when that simple project starts to grow up? What happens when your prototype turns into a real live application with actual complex business needs? Well, that's when the cracks begin to appear. And boom, there it is. This is the absolute core of the problem. This isn't about what code looks prettier. It's about building something that won't fall over. The very thing that made data annotations seem so simple, that's what makes them so fragile when things get serious. Think about what real systems actually need, okay? What happens when you need to check if a username is already taken in the database? That's an async call, right? You can't just stop everything while you wait. Or what if your validation rule needs to talk to some other service in your application? Dependency injection. And how about this one? How do you actually test your validation rules in isolation without firing up the entire app? With data annotations, all of this stuff becomes a massive pain, or in some cases, just impossible. So, if the easy path leads to a dead end, what's the better way? Well, this is where we introduce a tool that was literally built to solve these exact problems. Let's talk about FluentValidation. The name kind of gives it away, right? Fluent. It means you write your rules in this really natural, readable way, almost like you're writing a sentence. You can chain commands together. And the other huge part is that it's strongly typed. That's a big deal. It means you're not using, magic strings for your property names. You're using real code. So if you ever rename a property, your code won't even compile. It catches the bug for you right away. That's a lifesaver. Okay, just look at the difference here. On the left, with data annotations, your validation logic is literally stuck to your data model. But on the right, with Fluent Validation, the rules live in their own space. They're separate. You're using this clean, expressive language to describe the rules, not just slapping attributes on top of things. And let me tell you, that separation is a massive win for your architecture. Okay, so let's take this even further, because this new way of thinking unlocks some serious superpowers, stuff you just can't do with data annotations. And we're not talking about niche features here. These are solutions to problems you will absolutely run into on any real project. Like, what if a field should only be required if another field has a specific value? That's conditional validation. What about making sure a password and the confirm password field actually match? That's cross-field validation. Or what if you have a customer object and that customer has an address object and you need to validate both? Nested validation. Fluent Validation, it handles all of this and it does it beautifully. But this next one is the absolute game changer, especially for back-end systems. Pretty much every app needs this. A new user signs up. You have to check the database to see if their email is already taken before you do anything else. This isn't a nice to have. It's a basic fundamental requirement. And here it is, plain and simple. This is flat out impossible with data annotations. It just is. Why? Because those attributes are synchronous. They weren't built to handle things like database calls that take time. Fluent Validation, on the other hand, was designed for the modern world. It has async support baked right in from day one. So, you see, these superpowers aren't just a list of cool tricks. They actually let you build a smarter architecture for your whole system. We're talking about creating clear separation between different parts of your code, and that leads to code that's way easier to maintain, way easier to test, and just easier to understand. So here's the key principle. You have to know where your validation belongs. Think of it like a bouncer at a club. Its job is to check the ID. Is the data coming in the right shape? Is it valid? That's what you do in your API layer with your DTOs. What validation isn't for is complex business logic. So validation asks, is this a properly formatted email address? The business logic asks, is this specific user even allowed to change their email right now? See the difference? You got to keep those two things separate. And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? When you look at the stuff that really matters for building serious, scalable software, async, dependency injection, testability, it's not even a contest. And that little check mark next to testable for Fluent Validation is a really big deal. It means you can write a simple, fast unit test just for your rules, totally separate from everything else, to make sure they work. Look, data annotations are fine for simple stuff, but for professional grade work, Fluent Validation is the tool you want.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here, from simple little attributes to big architectural ideas. So let's boil all of this down to the one single thing you really need to remember.
So, after everything we've talked about, what's the one thing, the one core idea you should walk away with?
And there it is. That's the whole story in one sentence. It's not that data annotations are bad. They're not. It's that Fluent Validation is specifically designed to handle the kind of complexity that every real-world app eventually runs into. It's how you build code that's meant to last. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about for your own projects. Take a look at your code. What's that one simple tool you're using today that might be setting you up for a headache tomorrow? Because remember, choosing the right tool isn't just about getting the job done right now. It's about building a future for your project that you're actually excited about.